What is up, people of YouTube? I'm your host Vernon. This is West Hawk Lake. Let's fish that. Alright, ladies and gents, I want to start off this video by saying this is not a how-to fishing video. Now, I'm saying that because the fishing we're going to be doing out there today is the first time doing this type of fishing. I have no idea what we're doing. We're just going to go out there and try. And alongside that, we don't have the right equipment or the right gear, but we are going to use what we have to see if we get on some fish. Now, of course, West Hawk Lake is in the Whiteshell Provincial Park area, so you need a parks pass for your vehicle to be here. And of course, you need to check your regulations. You're not allowed to use something like live lining some bait out there. But West Hawk is an exciting lake. This is actually an impact crater, and that makes it the deepest lake in Manitoba. That grants us some access to some exciting fish. So we are going to be trying to get on some lake trout out there, fishing in deep water. Like I said, we don't have the right equipment or gear, but as we go through this video, I'll explain what you need and why the stuff we have is not correct. To do that, we need to get to our fishing spot, and that is actually 1 kilometer out onto the ice. So let's get out to the spot. Alright, ladies and gents, even though it is a lovely, beautiful sunny day out, it is a little bit windy. For that reason, we're putting up our little shelter just to give some shelter from the wind. And we hiked around about 1 kilometer out of the little harbor area where we parked to find the spot that we're in at the moment. We are fishing in 73 meters worth of water, rather deep. And we have 3 little holes made. One of them we're just going to have a little fish finder. Just want to show on that. It does show fish down on the bottom. That might be some bait fish or maybe the actual fish we're looking for. But that's a good sign, having fish down there. Now the problem is getting our baits all the way down there. Now we're only going to have 2 holes to fish in for one simple reason. When fishing this deep, if you have multiple holes, it's a lot easier for the lines to get tangled, especially if the fish start swimming around with your lures. On that depth, it's easy to get tangled up. So the holes we made, that is through 1 meter's worth of ice. And the big problem we have with the gear we have is getting our baits all the way down to the bottom. Now, regularly when it comes to fishing for lake trout, you want to be using something like 15 to 20 pounds braid. The main reason you're going to use braid is actually a stiff line. It doesn't get line memory like the other 2 major line types does. You can see here the line the wife has on her rod, that is monofilament, and you can see when there's not tension on the line, it makes these little curls in the line. That is a big problem. That curls continue all the way down the 70 meters. So when trying to set the hook in something, you have to really set the hook to get all of that tension to get the hook properly set in the fish. So that is why you want to use braid. But unfortunately, we don't have any reels at the moment that has braid on it. The only one with braid I've managed to break. So we are going to be using what we have out there. It's better to have some baits and lures in the water and try for some fish rather than not having anything. Now, when it comes to the rods you're going to use out there as well, the rods we have are actually very flexible, very bendy, not ideal for this type of fishing. You need a bit of a stiffer backbone in your rod if you want to set the hook on the fish all the way down there. Having a bit of a stiffer rod with a flexible tip and having the braid is a great way to get the motion of setting the hook, part that down to your lure all the way down there. Now this just means that not using the correct gear, we might struggle to get fish, and even if we do get fish, we might lose them. But it is more about the experience than it is actually getting the fish. But if we're lucky and the moon and the stars line up, we might get some fish. Now when it comes to the lures we're going to be using out there, the biggest focus is going to be on something like tubes, having little white chartreuse or even green and blue tubes. You put a heavy jig head into this little tube, send that all the way down to the bottom, and you move it around. Lake trout are known to chase little injured bait fish, so erratic quick moving moves with these little tubes often get strikes. Other little options we're going to try will be something like little spoons or something, a heavy lure that you can get down to where the fish are and move them erratically to try and entice the fish to strike. Now, of course, you can always tip your little lures with some baits. Using small pieces on a spoon like this is a great idea, but whenever using a tube, be very careful when tipping a tube. You might actually change the way this little lure moves in the water and fall. So use a very small piece on the back of the hook. Don't put on a big piece on a tube like this. And of course, having some noisy, heavy, flashy lipless cranks and stuff we can use down there. Also maybe tipping that with some bait fish if we don't get any action. The idea with these things is you have a moving bait fish that's a target for the lake trout, and if they're not going for the moving stuff, you're just going to gently tap them on the bottom, letting it kick up some salt, and that just also draws in fish when they're finicky and don't want to be chasing around the things. So there are quite a different ways you can fish out there, and we're going to try and see whether we can get on any of the lake trout. Of course, this lake is also known for all sorts of other species. We do have some pike and walleye as well, but they tend to be a little bit more shallow, but you can always find some on the way down. Now, especially on the rod the wife has there with that high vis monofilament we have on there, that is actually 18 pounds. That's why we're using that, because sometimes these fish can get really big. You need a heavier setup, so we need the heavier line. But on the tip of that line specifically, we're using some fluoro line, 12-pound fluoro line, for the simple idea we don't want the fish to be seeing the line. And it's exactly for that reason that the leader we have on there is quite long. It is a 12-foot leader. We don't want the fish to be seeing the main line.
Die kategorieë van mense wat aan aanval behoort.
Alright, ladies and gents, we gave a good couple of hours out here on West Hawk Lake. In all of this time, we don't know whether we had any bites. It didn't look like we got anything, or none of our baits looked like they had any bite marks on them or anything. Even though we can see on the little fish finder, we can see fish down there. It is also very important to stress that this type of fishing, you actually need something like 2D imaging or sonar, anything that can show you when fish approaches. Sometimes there's a certain way you need to move the lure or try and entice the fish to bite, something where with our little setup we don't know whether there were any fish near our baits, nor do I know what the fishes we could see down there. I mean, in 70 meters, if you know what type of fish are down there, maybe some Cisco or something, please go in the comments and tell me what fish you think would be hanging around on 70 meters deep. It seemed like big schools swimming around the whole time. So I thought being near some bait fish might be a great place to find fish, but no luck for us today. Alright, so oftentimes I will say I am not as experienced with ice fishing, but a fishing opportunity like this where I can learn something new does help quite a lot. Even though we didn't get any fish, I did learn quite a lot out there today. And if I should now maybe go and get a different rod and reel for this type of fishing, I know at least what to look for, as well as thinking something like a 3/4 ounce lead weight would be enough to get the baits down there, and that is enough. But going for something like a 2 ounce lead weight, you'll get your baits down there a lot quicker, especially with inside that little tube. So going heavier when you're fishing this deep might actually be a good thing. And the idea is also to have these videos be entertaining, not just informative. So for that reason, I think I'm rather going to show a bit of an older video from back in summer, just so we get some fish in this video at least. So I hope you guys will enjoy this one. This is Mary Jane Reservoir Spillway. Alright, ladies and gents, I just spent the morning fishing the Mary Jane Reservoir. If you've not seen that video, at the end of this video there will be a link for that, and in the card above here will also be a link for that video. It got a little bit windy at the main lake, so I thought I would stop recording a video, and then I saw the little spillway down here. Now, a lot of more experienced YouTubers, they tend to often fish a little spillway, not the main reservoir, but a lot of times they focus on the spillways, getting some decent fish. And I thought to myself, let's try that out there today. I'm going to get some baits out into the water, see if we get anything from this little spillway. Right, and here we have a little look at our little spillway. You can see there's a little rock wall and some splashing in a small pool right underneath the spillway, but I only saw some small fish down there. We might try in that little pool, but I'm thinking any big fish won't be in that pool. They might be a little bit further down, seeing some deeper water, also quite a lot of activity in this bigger area. So I'm just going to try something simple, nothing complicated. Just going to put on a little drop shot rig, and I have a piece of night crawler on there. We're just going to get that out there. We might have to swap out to some smaller hooks. We'll see what kind of activity we get. If something's stealing the baits, we might have to go for a smaller hook. But I'm just going to get that out there and we wait and see if something gets hooked. Alright, so simple as that. We have our little baits out there. We'll see if we get any hits, if we get any fish in this particular area. Alright, so we're getting quite a bunch of taps. Let's see if we have something on there. Indeed, we have something on. And we got ourselves, it looks to be a creek chub. Definitely with the stripe going all the way to the tail. Decent creek chub. This is my biggest creek chub that I've ever caught. Alright, so this is a 19 centimeter, that is just over 7-inch chub. Lovely little creek chub. Let's get him back down there. Bit of a toss, but he swam off, so we're all good. Might try and get some of this vegetation a little bit flat so we can actually get to the water, but that was a decent chub landed. There we go. Another little fish on. Looks to be another creek chub. These are the biggest creek chub around. This one has a bunch of parasites all over him. These are probably the biggest fish in this hole, that's why they keep going for the baits first. Let's get back down. Off he goes. Seeing a pile of wood there on the other side. I'm going to try and get closer to that, see if there's something different. Maybe a bigger predator hiding near a little wood pile. don't know why I'm surprised having a creek full of creek chub. I think we finally caught something a bit different. This is a common shiner. So finally something a bit different from the creek chub, common shiner. Lovely little patterns on him. Get back down there. I thought, seeing as how we have largemouth bass and black crappie up in the main lake, that some of the fry would wash down and we have a few of them down here. But it seems like only creek chub and some shiners down here. Alright, ladies and gents, I gave it a couple of hours throwing out some baits out there to see what I can get. So far, only got some creek chub and one little shiner. Now I could of course have gone straight home and not fished this little creek, but I might have always wondered what's out there if I didn't stop by. For all I know, this may have been one of the best white bass holes in Manitoba. I don't know, that's why I wanted to give it a try. And like I mentioned, with the black crappie and the largemouth bass in the lake, I would have thought there might be some down here as well, but it seems to be that it's only small fish down here. And if you disagree and you've actually caught something down here before, please go down in the comments and tell us, what have you caught down here? For me, it's a little itch that has been scratched, and I would not specifically make my way down here to try and fish this part of the creek unless you've never caught some creek chub before and you want to get some. There are a lot of them down here. Alright, please do give me a little thumbs up for getting some fish at least in this video. Feel free to ask any questions down below in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, consider hitting subscribe, joining my community. Alright guys, but thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.